Hi there guys, so in today's video we're going to install and set up the Docker container Duplicati, and with this we can easily make, manage and restore encrypted backups. And we can back up straight to our chosen cloud provider or even to another unRAID server or NAS which we own. So let's make use of that cloud storage we signed up to and get some backups done. So some of you may be asking why you actually need to do a backup at all. And you're saying, hey Space Invader, I have a NAS that has parity, so I don't need to do a backup.
Right? Wrong.
You still need to do a backup. Because yes, having parity and the ability to have a hard drive or two fail is great, but it isn't a substitute for a backup plan. If you have data you just can't afford to lose, then back it up. Because what happens if you lost more drives than your parity covers you for? Or even if your house got robbed and your server got stolen? Now no amount of parity drives are going to help you there. So for data that's important, get a backup plan in place actually before you need to use it. Now so many people I've seen over the years, they only ever think about backups when they lose their data. And yes, it can be a pain doing backups, but once you've got Duplicati set up, it will actually automatically do this for you. Now you don't have to back up the whole of your server if you don't want to, but just make sure you back up the important things that you can't afford to replace. Now I'd hate to lose some of the pictures like this one of my old dog, who passed away a few years ago. Yeah, okay, that's why I put this pic in this video, to kind of honour him, as it is this time of year that I lost him. Anyway, let's get back on track and install and set up Duplicati. So what I'm going to do in this video is I'm going to make a backup to two separate locations. Firstly, from my main server to my test server for a fast local network backup. But then after that, I'm going to make a backup to my Amazon cloud drive, but you can use any provider that you like. Now when I say I'm going to make a backup, I mean a backup, not a folder and file sync or copy. So when you look at the files on the cloud drive, you can't actually see the files that actually make up the backup. All you can see is the compressed and encrypted archives. But if you are wanting to sync files and folders to the cloud, then I suggest checking out my rclone video. And the advantages of having proper backup files is the fact that they can be compressed, saving space, and also we can do both full and incremental backups as well. So because I'll be backing up from one server to another, there is some preparation that will need to be done first. I have two browser tabs open at the moment, one for each server. I'm on the main server here, and you can see I've got my second server here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a share on this server called Backups. And now I'm going to go back to my main server, and for this we need to have the unassigned devices plugin installed. So to install that, if you don't have it, you just go across to apps, just type in unassigned, hover over there, and you just install the plugin. So now what we need to do with the unassigned devices plugin installed is we need to add this backup share as a remote SMB share on our main server. So that's my other server there. And there's the backup share, and we just click on to add. Okay, and as you can see, the mount point here for this share is /MNT/disks, and then the name of my server Megatron_backups. And so now we want to mount the share. Okay, so now let's install Duplicati. So let's go across to apps and type in Duplicati and click search. And here we have Linux servers, awesome container. So just hover over the icon here and click on to install the application. And this brings us to the template. And the first thing here, this is the path to our local backups. And local being anywhere that we can map to that isn't in the cloud. It can be a location on the same server. Yes, it may sound strange to make a backup on the same device, but for us a use case would be to back up a folder on one disk of your array to another disk, so the data would then be on two separate disks. Or as I'm going to do now, local could be a location on our network, and I'm going to map to the remote SMB share that I just set up using the unassigned devices plugin. So for that we need to go into disks, and there's the share there, the Megatron backups, but I want to just click onto edit, and I'm going to change the access mode here from read write to RW slave. And the reason I'm changing that is because anything in the location /MNT/disks, when it's being accessed by a container, it's always best to have that set as RW slave. And the next path we have to fill in is the /source here. So this is the source of where we're taking our backups from. So what I'd suggest to do is to just use the root of all your shares. So for that it's /MNT/user, and just click on to apply. Okay, and so when the container's been pulled down, just click on to done, and now we can click onto our Docker tab, and then go to the Duplicati icon and click onto Web UI, and then from here we can add a backup. So just click the plus and go on to configure new backup and click next, and I'm just going to call this test backup. And if we've chosen encryption above, which we should have, then this is where we put in the password for the backup. You can actually turn the encryption off if you want to here, but I don't recommend it, and you can also change the encryption type to GNU Privacy Guard, but for our purposes just leave it on the AES-256, and then click on to next. And now this part here, the destination, so for that this is where we map the path here, backups. You can see here, backups, so we'll select that and click on test connection, and connection worked, and then click next, and now we have to choose what we want to actually back up. So again, scroll down, and here we can see source, and if we click this little arrow here, you can see here these are all the various shares on my server. So I'm just going to go into my test folder here, and I'm just going to use this folder here called images. Okay, so having chosen our source folder, we've got two other options here. We've got filters and we've got exclude. If we click onto filters, there are various filters that we can set up. We've got various exclude and include filters. And if we click on here beneath there's an exclude section here. We can exclude hidden files, system files and temporary files should we want to. And there's also an option here to exclude files larger than a certain size. So a use case for this for me would be if I set this to say exclude files over 40 gigs. If you have a look on my server here, I've got various VMs with large VDisks, like there's one here with 80 gigs and there's another one here with 80 gigs. I wouldn't really want Duplicati to update those to the cloud, so that's a use case whereby I could see this being useful. Obviously it's not going to be an issue for me just backing up this small folder of images now. So once you've chosen the options here, should you want any, just click onto next. And here we have the option to schedule various backups. The first part here we can put in the time for the next backup to run. So I can just put in the next time I want the backup to actually run. And I can give it options if I want it to run every day, or if I just want it to run say once a week, I can let it just automatically do that for me. But for this tutorial I'm going to untick this and not have a schedule at all. So let's click onto next. And now you see here we've got some general options. We've got our upload volume size. We can set this to the size of the files of the backups that are uploaded. So if you imagine it like when we make a RAR file, often that file is split up into various pieces. This is exactly the same sort of thing. Basically the backup will be split into files of this size and uploaded to the cloud. So having it set at 50 megabytes, there won't be any files bigger than 50 megabytes uploaded to the cloud. And the next part here, the keep backups. You can choose how long to keep the backups for before they're deleted off. And under advanced options here, we've got various options that we can use. Now there's a lot of options here, you're going to have to go through them yourself and see basically what they are. We'll quickly just look at a couple of them. We'll look at the zip compression, for example. Choosing this option we can choose the compression level. So if we wanted to have it extremely compressed we could use 9, and a setting of 0 would be nothing. And here we have compression method. And here we can choose the various different compression types we could use. We could compress into RAR files should we want to, but we need to have it set to deflate if we want to be able to actually set a zip compression level, otherwise it will be ignored. And what you'll see in the advanced options, you'll have, for whatever type of backup you're doing, I'm backing up to a local folder, so I've got this local folder or drive options here. But had I on my storage type, for example, chosen Amazon Cloud Drive, in my advanced options I no longer have the local drive options. I've now got some options that are exclusive to Amazon Cloud Drive, which you can see here. Okay, so once you've set up all the options you want for your backup, then just click on Save to save that backup. So once you've set up your backup, just click Run Now. And you can see that successfully run. And so now let's just have a look at the source folder. That was this one here on my main server in the test share. Here's all the images. So if we go across to the other server here, we can see here are the files that we've just backed up. So let's go across to here, and I'm going to delete all of the files out of the source. So now that's empty. And so now let's click on to restore, and here we can see our test backup here, and click on to next, and here we can restore individual files if we want to, or we can just restore the whole lot. And as I've deleted everything, I'm going to restore the whole lot. And in this box here you can actually search for a file within the backup if there's something special that you're looking for. And if we'd done more backups in the past, then obviously there'd be a longer list of dates here to restore from. So once you've chosen what to restore, then click on to continue, and we can either restore to the original location or we can pick a new location. I'm going to restore to the original location, and I'm going to leave this on overwrite, and I'm going to leave the permissions as they are, and I'm going to click restore, and here it says my folders and files have been restored successfully. So let's have a check of that. So let's look in images, and here all the files are back. So our backup and restores worked absolutely fine locally between the two servers. Now let's do exactly the same, but let's do it to the cloud. So let's close this and let's click Add Backup. Okay, so now let's back up to the cloud. So click on Add Backup again. Exactly the same as before, but just this time I've called it Cloud Backup, given it a passphrase again. Click on to Next. Now this is the part that's different. Instead of a local file or folder, click on the drop down box, and here you can see are the various cloud storage providers that Duplicati supports. I'm going to use my Amazon Cloud Drive account. We need to enter a destination path. It says path on server, but that's on the Amazon Cloud or our cloud provider. It's not on the unRAID server. And we need to click on the authorization ID here, and that will basically link our Duplicati to our cloud storage provider. So just click onto that, then click Cloud Drive Login, and then you need to log into your storage provider, and it will generate an ID key. Okay, so now let's click on Test Connection, and now it says that the folder Test Cloud doesn't exist. So we can just create that here, so just click onto Yes. And it says it's failed to connect and there's a missing folder. That's because Amazon Cloud and other cloud providers are sometimes a little bit slow to notify that the folder's there. So let's just click on OK and then click Test Connection again, and you see everything's fine and it's worked. So let's click on to Next, and I'm going to choose the same source file as before, just so it's quick, and I'm going to choose the images folder again, and then click Next. I'm not going to bother with the schedule again, and click on to Next. Now there's one thing to actually note here about the upload volume size. I know I mentioned it earlier in the video, but whilst making the video I was actually thinking about it, and if we click onto the advanced options here, we have the option here to change Duplicati's upload folder. Now why would we want to do that? Well, you can see here that it's in /TMP, and that's actually inside the Docker container's own file system. So basically it will be storing all of those upload files inside of our Docker image container here. And I've only got a 20 gig image file here, so I don't want it getting filled up with Duplicati's upload files. So if I was to change the default file size from the 50 megabyte upload volume size to say a 1 gigabyte upload volume size, then I may find that I might fill up my Docker container image file when doing so. So what I was thinking we could do is we could actually map a folder across onto our cache drive, and we can actually use that so it's something outside of the Docker container to use as our upload folder. Now we don't really need to do that unless we change the upload volume size. So it's just an option, just something I was thinking about while I was making the video. Not something you actually have to do. And so to do that, you just click on to add path port or variable and choose path, and I'm just going to give it a name as upload, and for the container path be / and upload, and for the host path I've actually got a share on my cache drive at the moment that I use for transcoding, so I'll probably use that one. And so now my upload folder can be outside of the Docker container on my cache drive, and you just click on to add and then click apply. So now if we just look at our file system within the container, and the easiest way to do that is just browsing through here, you can see now we've got the upload folder which is mapped through to the cache drive, and we don't have to use this TMP if we don't want to. So what we'll do is just type in the location of where we want to have the upload folder to be. So I'm going to click on to save, and now I'm going to run this backup. Okay, and now the backup is successfully completed. Right, so I've just deleted all of the files from the source, and now I'm going to make a restore from the cloud backup. And this time, as we restore it, I'm going to bring up the folder so we can just see the files pop into it as it comes down. Okay, so it's downloading, and there we have it, the files are all there. So Duplicati successfully made a backup to the cloud and restored it. Okay, so I also tried a bit of a larger backup, because as you can see this one here, it's very small with just a few picture files. And I ran another one yesterday. The source was 23.1 gigs. And the backup was compressed down to 19.4 gigs, and that worked absolutely fine. It took nearly 7 hours to complete. My upload speed is about probably 7 megs up here, so not the fastest. So just before we wrap up this video, I'm just going to show you a couple of other things that we can do. If we want to delete a backup, just click onto the downward arrow here, and I'm going to delete this one here. So just click on to delete. And we can delete the backup job just by clicking delete. We'll delete the local database, and then the backup won't be in our list. But we can also delete the remote files off the cloud storage as well. So for that we have to tick this box here and then click delete backup and click OK. And you can see here cloud backup, deleting remote files, and that backup's deleted. And what else we can do, we can click onto this arrow again, and we can export the configuration. So we export it to a file, just click export, and it's downloaded the configuration here. So we can click done. And now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to delete this backup here. And so now I've actually deleted the backup, but I haven't deleted the files off the cloud server this time. So if I wanted to add the backup at a future time, or maybe I want to add this backup job to another computer, I could just click on to add backup, and instead of this time configuring a new backup, I just click import from file and click next. And then just choose the backup file and click open. And then I'm going to tick save immediately because I don't want to edit it at all. And here it says passphrase. I didn't put a passphrase in when I saved it, so I don't need to add that now. It's not the passphrase of the encryption on the backup. And just click import. And there you are, you can see that the backup's been imported, and it still knows when it was done and how long it took, etc. Okay guys, well that's pretty much it. One thing you guys may be wondering about is full and incremental backups. Well, in Duplicati 2.0, the backup storage format has changed to a much more advanced system, and it now uses something called a block-based system. Now with the old way of full and incremental backups, we always had to do a full backup first, and then various incremental backups afterwards. The incremental backups just had the changed files compared to the last backup, and this could lead to some really long chains that all needed to be intact in order to restore the latest backup. Well, this isn't the case anymore using a block-based storage system. And if you want to learn more about this, then head across to duplicati.com where you can read all about that. And anyway guys, that brings us to the end of this week's video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, then please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for a new video every week. If you like what I do, then every donation is appreciated, which you can do through the link in the top right. So guys, whatever you're up to for the rest of the day, I hope it's good, and I'll catch you all in that next video.